What's going on, everybody? You're out here in Singapore, and thank you so much for joining me on the Night Owl podcast. As you guys know, I pull from all aspects of my life: conversations, TV programs, radio, lyrics, all kinds of stuff, quotes that I come across on social media. And lately, it's been a lot of quotes. So today, I want to start off with a quote by Friedrich Nietzsche, and he says, "You have your way, I have my way, and as for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist." Which means in any relationship between two human beings, you're going to have two different ideas of how things get to be done. There are going to be two different cultures you have to consider. There will be two different strategies, processes that they're going to do things with. Very simply put, there could be two different ways to feed somebody. I just had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they were talking about the way they were fed as a child versus the way I was fed as a child. And it isn't to say that one way is better than the other. One might be easier than the other, one might be different from the other, but there is no better way, just one that's more convenient for your specific liking. So when it comes down to it, right? A relationship is made up of two or more people, and it really depends on how you guys communicate about the differences in your lives. As much as I would like to say that it would be easier to date someone from my culture with the same language understandings as I do, that has been through similar experiences that I have, even then, the way they sort things out, the way they deal with their feelings, the way that they communicate with their parents, the way they were raised to believe, what respect looks like, all of that's going to be different. All of that's going to be completely different. So, what do I have to say about managing all of this? It really comes down to communication. You have to be able to find the right way to say something so that they understand where you're coming from. Even then, there will be slang terminology, right? That is different from one country to the next. I live in Singapore, predominantly English speaking. I was born and raised all over the place in Australia, in Indonesia, in London, in the US. And the way we say things is not the same as the way we say things here. We don't talk about feelings here in Singapore because in Asia, we don't determine our lives based on our feeling. We determine it based on logic and reasoning. And it's a very Asian idea, right? It's not wrong, but it's very different. And as much as I'd like to consider logic, I also need to pay attention to the way I feel about certain things. Maybe I'm uncomfortable. I need to discover why I'm uncomfortable. But in the event that I have to communicate that to somebody, I have to be able to choose the right words to actually help them understand. The best analogy I use with my clients is to teach people to recognize how we communicate with an animal, a pet, right? If you have a dog or a cat, we usually pay attention to their behaviors. They will tell us when they're upset and happy. They will tell us when to leave them alone, or when they're looking for affection, they'll come up and snuggle with you, right? The same with babies. You eventually learn, after many, many crying episodes, you eventually learn what each cry means. And at that point, you know exactly what to do for the child in front of you. And there is a language barrier. You do not speak the way that they understand, but you figured it out. And unfortunately, we don't do the same thing with adult human beings who have the capacity to speak the same language, but just a different variation of it. Now, we understand dialects, right? In India, there are thousands of dialects: Hindi to Tamil to Gujarati to Marathi to Malayali. Oh gosh, you could go on forever, basically. Even outside of India, let's say Spanish, there is Espanol from Spain, and then there's Mexican version of that. There's the Portuguese version of that. There's so many different dialects, but somehow or other, we figure out a way to communicate in a way that we get what we want, and we're able to tell people what we need as well. So why don't we do that within a household? Some people, if you've noticed, there are certain words you can't say around them because it upsets them, highly upsets them. So what do you have to do? You have to find a similar word that means something different to them, or ask them what their preference is. Some people do not like being called by their full name. It feels like they're getting in trouble. I'm one of those people. I have never had someone call me by my full name and felt like they actually called it out of endearment. It usually felt like I was getting in trouble. So I've invented nicknames for myself because I never had friends close enough to give me a nickname themselves. Now, that's just one example. But to really explain it, I think it's important for you to watch the behaviors of the people around you. It's easier with kids because they don't think about what they're saying. They kind of just come out with it. So it comes out rude, it comes out, disrespectful sometimes. They're telling you the honest truth. And honestly, I respect that a little bit more because at least you get your feeling out of your mouth. You're explaining yourself, you're expressing yourself in such a way that you feel like you got the job done. And now I can ask you questions about what you said and try and determine what you meant by it, because it may sound offensive to me, but that was not your intention. So I think that's the key to communication. And when it comes down to theories and beliefs and the way we do things, honestly, you have your way, I have my way, and as for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, that does not exist across time, across culture, across language, across sex. None of that matters. And a lot of the times, we are handed down belief systems to be raised by. And eventually, when we start to compare notes with people that we've grown up with, we realize that that's not the only way. And we try to, compromise and find a way that fits best for us, because maybe the way we were raised didn't fit us very well, but it was the only way we knew at the time. And as we grow older, we keep shifting, we keep adjusting, we keep, creating hybrid theories for how we should live. And honestly, that's really the best way for each of us, which means when we start to build our own families, we have to figure out what they've struggled through to create for themselves and see there's a happy medium that we can strike so that we can all get along in the same house. So I would love your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day ahead. Catch you later. Bye.